Hello everyone and welcome to Firework Flutter SDK tutorial. In this video, we are going to show you how to integrate Firework SDK into your Flutter project. Firework Flutter SDK is a wrapper over our native iOS and Android SDKs. Before we start the tutorial, we recommend you to visit our developer documentation page and check the most recent prerequisites for the integration, as this might change at the time you are watching this video. The link to the prerequisites page can be found in the description of the video. Step 1 of the tutorial is to add the Firework SDK to the Flutter project. You can find the detailed steps in our documentation. You can add it via command prompt, or if you're using an IDE, you can just add the package to the pubspec.yaml file. I'm going to create a project and add the package in the pubspec.yaml file. I'm using Visual Studio Code as the IDE, so I'll just open the project and open the demo. So as you can see, there's a pubspec.yaml file here. Under dependencies, we just add the Firework Flutter SDK. And that's it. Once you have added the Firework SDK, the next step is to set up the Android project with the required dependencies. iOS doesn't require any specific setup. So we'll just follow whatever is provided in the documentation. The first step is to update the build.gradle file with the required information. Next step is to update the Gradle wrapper.properties file. Then you have to go ahead and extend the main activity as a Flutter fragment activity. Then you have to go to the app build.gradle file and add the following line. And finally, you have to create a new file inside the app folder called firework.gradle. And that's it. You can refer to the frequently asked questions section if you encounter any errors in this step. The FAQ section describes common errors and solutions for them. The next step is to add the Firework client ID to both platforms. You can reach out to your partner success manager to get the client ID. For app ID configuration in iOS, you have to open the app's info.plist file and then add the key Firework video app ID and then add the client ID provided by your partner success manager. So in this case, I'm going to open the iOS project and open the plist using Xcode so that I can add the key easily. For Android, you have to add it in your Android manifest.xml. Once you have added the Firework app ID, the next step is to initialize the Firework SDK. We recommend doing this in the init method when the application starts. Example, in the init state method of your app state. So I'm going to open the dart file, and in it I'm going to override the init method. So we will call the initialize code. Just after that, you have to import the Flutter SDK project, and that's it. Once the SDK is initialized, the next step is to add the Firework video feed onto your view. You can refer to the documentation for the detailed information. There are different content sources from which the contents of a feed can be loaded. The most common ones are channel and playlist. You need to use the encoded values of the channel and the playlist IDs when implementing this. These can be found on the business portal URL. The other content sources are explained in detail in the documentation. The link for these are added in the description of this video. We are going to remove the sample app UI from the view. We'll just paste it here, make this as const, and then remove the floating action button because this is also part of the sample app. So you go to the business portal, select the playlist that you want to embed, and then copy the channel ID and the playlist ID from the URL and then paste it back in the code. Once this is done, let's see if the feed loads successfully. There you go. Perfect. The next step is feed customization. Firework provides a number of feed customizations and all of them can be set using the video feed configuration property. A few of them are background color, corner radius of items, title layout, title text color, etc. The full list can be found under video feed configuration in reference section of the documentation. Now let's try out a few of these configurations and see how it reflects in the final code. Let's see how the UI looks now. So as you can see, the text is white and is on top of the thumbnails. We are going to apply the feed configuration here. Now you can see that the text has changed the color, but the position is still on top of the thumbnail. So let's see if we can change that. There you go. That's it. Similar to feed view configuration, Firework exposes a number of video player configuration which can be used to customize the behavior of the player. A few examples are hiding and unhiding controls like mute button, play button or share button in the video player. The full list of video player configurations can be found under video player configuration in reference section of the documentation. Now let's try some of this out. Before we apply the configuration, let's see how the video player behaves now. So as you can see, there is no mute button, there is no play pause button at the moment. Now let's try setting the video player configuration. Now let's see if the changes are reflected on the player. As you can see, the mute button is now present and the play pause button is also added. So that's it. Thank you for watching the tutorial.